joins me now from Washington, and many thanks indeed for joining us this evening. What does it say about President Trump when he refers to countries like Haiti, El Salvador and other countries in Africa as shithole countries?
Well, I suppose we'll start with the fact that he's denying having used that language. This is following a meeting in the Oval Office with some Democrats who had just been informed that they weren't getting an amnesty deal for illegal immigrants. So I'm not entirely sure of how reliable it is.
Well, he's denying the use of that language, but Democrat Dick Durbin has been a Democrat, has been in Congress for 20 years, said that President Trump did use that language. Are you saying that he's lying?
No, I'm just trying to put it in context for you. Personally, I hope he did use that language, Gamal. I think it shows a frankness, a willingness to have a conversation that isn't sort of varnished with political correctness. He wants to know why America has a big illegal immigration problem. Let's not forget, the OECD puts out statistics every year, the United Nations, Transparency International, all the corruption indexes. They put out statistics every year that show that there are a handful of countries out there in the world that are pretty bad. I mean, you know, I don't want to use the word on air,
pretty
but
bad is very different to describing a country as being a shithole.
Well, look, if you want me to say it, they are shitholes. You know, Gamal, it is the case. There's no getting around it, and he's not saying that they are because, you know, they're bad people there or anything like that. It might be due to corrupt regimes. It might be due to factors out of the control, environmental factors. There might be education problems there. But there are countries that you and I wouldn't want to go on holiday in and sun ourselves in, and I think that's what he's getting at. It shouldn't be shocking to anybody that there are horrible places in the world that are horrible for the people who live there to live. And instead of actually getting het up about the phrase used, maybe we've got to ask ourselves, why is Haiti in such a dire situation?
Is it appropriate that the United States President should use a phrase describing countries such as Haiti, El Salvador, or countries in Africa as shitholes? You think it's appropriate for a president of a country, a leader of a country, to use that term, to use that phrase?
Yeah, well, let's look at Barack Obama, who gave an interview. Let's look at what Barack Obama said about swearing in the Oval Office. He said it's a great thing for presidents to be able to do to relieve stress. Joe Biden, when the Obamacare legislation was passed, described it on live microphone as a big effing deal. So I think the level of appropriateness has already been set by Trump's predecessors on this one. So my answer is, yeah, it's perfectly fine.
You think it's fine that... I'm not talking about Barack Obama, I'm not talking about any other leaders.
Of course you're not.
We're talking about this president describing a country as a shithole country. You think that's fine?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
OK, what about President Trump saying that he's not going to come to the United Kingdom and open this embassy? What is your thoughts, your reflections on that?
Well...
Oh, have we lost him? Have we lost Raheem? Oh, what a crying shame. Well, we will move on. We've just got a very brief statement, actually, regarding that story about President Trump not coming to the United Kingdom to open that embassy. Raheem, are you back? Is he back?
Right here.
Smashing. I'd just like to get your thoughts on the fact that President Trump has said that he's not going to be coming to the United Kingdom to open the US embassy.
Yes, well, I don't blame him. You know, you have a situation whereby Sadiq Khan, as the mayor of London, has really been tub-thumping, trying to get President Trump not to attend, said multiple times he's not welcome in the capital, really fomenting a situation where you might have some riots or street protests if the president came to open that embassy. By the way, I think the president's wrong when he says that the embassy in South London is a bad deal. I think firstly, it wasn't Obama who approved that embassy. It was George W. Bush who approved that embassy. Secondly, it didn't cost the American taxpayer anything because they actually sold off a bunch of buildings to pay for it. So I think he is wrong on that. I think he should have come out and told the honest truth, which is that he doesn't particularly want to visit Sadiq Khan's London, which is the acid attack capital of the world per capita, where you have in the last year soaring knife crime, soaring burglary, soaring rape, soaring youth homicide. And Sadiq Khan seems to be concerning himself more with matters of state, which he isn't elected to do, than actually solving the situation of crime in London. And it is soaring. And I have to say this, and you'll excuse me for being churlish about it, but places like Sky News and the BBC and all the best and brightest journalists in the country are not covering this.
What do you mean?
Well,
every single day we are covering stories about whether it's knife crimes or attacks, where they happen up and down the country. What proof do you have?
So
what proof
Gamal,
do you have?
well, the proof is, can you answer me? What's the at what rate did knife crime go up by in London last year?
I'm asking you. I'm interviewing you. What
Yeah,
proof
I know.
do you have?
Well, I don't. It's not great with the shoes on the other foot. Do you know how much youth homicide went up by in London last year? Have you told your viewers that? 70%. Have you looked at the mayoral's police and crime report from December the 12th? You look at that, almost every single measure out of 42, only 4 of them in 4 categories did crime go down. In every single other area, double-digit rises in crime across London. So you know what? To borrow a phrase from Donald Trump, London's turning into a shithole under Sadiq Khan.
OK, I think we'll leave it there. Raheem Kassam, the editor for Breitbart, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is my 9th CPAC. And the reason I keep coming back to CPAC, despite the protests from MatchLab, is that I believe the fate of our nations are inextricably linked. In fact, I've made somewhat of a fashion statement about it. The fates of our nations are inextricably linked, not just through history, but right now in the present, when you have the attempted nullification project that is going on here, that is led by Antifa and George Soros and CNN. They're trying to nullify what you guys chose in 2016. And in the same time, in the United Kingdom, there is a Brexit nullification project in place. They are trying to do to us, our voices and our choices, the same things they are trying to do to you. Quite. One of those voices in the Brexit nullification process, a man you've probably heard something about. He's the London mayor. So you've heard of him. Sadiq Khan. Send a bigger message to Sadiq Khan right now, please. Who has spent his first year in office publicly attacking President Donald Trump and spending his time overseeing, heaping up Britain's funeral pyre, overseeing London crime rates skyrocketing, rape up 18%, youth homicide up 70%, robbery up 33%. This is London today under Sadiq Khan. But he's more interested in whether your president attends a royal wedding. But there is a man, and I believe our fates are intertwined. There is a man who, like Paul Revere, riding through the night to warn the British are coming, the British are coming. Just like that. Just like that. There is a man who has rode for nearly 30 years in the face of the European Union and the BBC to scream, the British are leaving, the British are leaving. Let's remind ourselves a little bit of Nigel's journey. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't CPAC absolutely bloody fantastic? I've got to tell you, this is somewhat of a nerd dream of mine. I've been coming to CPAC now for 8 years, and I've wanted to stand here and wax lyrical for a very long time. But you have a better speaker, so I will keep this brief. My name is Raheem Kassam. I'm the editor-in-chief of Breitbart's London Bureau. And I was born in West London into a Muslim family. And I am now proud to say that I am a conservative. I am a proud Englishman. And I am a robust Americophile. But sometimes when people meet me, they ask me, "Oh, Raheem, that's a Muslim name. Do you make the Hajj? Do you do the pilgrimage?" And I say, "Yeah, I make the pilgrimage every year to the Gaylord National Convention Centre." To be amongst people like you, the people who have made such a massive difference. You have changed the world, ladies and gentlemen. But there is a lot of the world that still needs changing. You know, I was in Sweden last week. Sweden! You heard of Sweden, right? You heard a lot about Sweden in the past few days. Absolutely extraordinary. I want to talk to the back of the room for a second, the media at the back of the room for a second. You can do better than that, come on. Yeah. Look, I was in Malmo, I was in Husby, I was in Rosengård, I was in Stockholm, I was in these no-go zones. And actually, if you want a little bit more about that, if you go down to the Regnery stand downstairs, I've got a book coming out on it. And I was there in these no-go zones, and I came back, and we were talking about Sweden, and Donald Trump's talking about Sweden. And I was in Paris too, and I was in Brussels and Molenbeek too. And you guys at the back, you just don't get it. You don't go there. You don't see what's going on. Get your heads out of your rears. I'm sorry, they're not all like that. But I'm here to introduce a man today who really changed my life in a very significant way, who changed my country in a very significant way, and I would argue changed the world in a very significant way. You know, last year we had Brexit. That's too big. I'm too big up there. I don't like that. Last year we had Brexit, and Brexit was spearheaded by a man who loves his country, who wants an end to uncontrolled mass migration, who wants our secure borders, and who wants us to be a proud sovereign nation again. I used to work for that man. He is a member of the European Parliament. He worked tirelessly, travelled up and down the country, sometimes speaking to rooms of 3 or 4 people at the beginning of his career, just to have his message heard. 20 years ago, this movement started. He's been a mentor to me, he's been a friend to so many of us, and he's also been really a father figure to so many of us. He has survived cancer. He has survived a car crash. He has survived a plane crash. He has survived the BBC, CNN, the establishment, the European Parliament. And he's also a very demanding man. He's a man who, when I worked for him, would be, just like Donald Trump, just like President Trump, would call at the most inopportune time. Hold on a minute. Yes, Nigel, I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. Thank you. Yes, yes. Sorry, Mr. Brexit. Mr. Brexit. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brexit, Nigel Farage, my good friend. Please welcome him to the stage.